And one of the things that I learned back in college from one of my college coaches is he left me with this quote. I'm all about quotes. I like my own most of the time, but he says, plan your race and race your plan. Plan your race and race your plan. And I held on to that for a lot of years, and as I got older and got more experienced and hopefully a little bit smarter, I added something to that really resonated with me, because a lot of times when people have a plan, shit happens and things get derailed, right? So I added, plan your race, race your plan, but be prepared for the unknowns, because the unknowns are the things that will derail you, right? And it doesn't mean you can fully prepare of what that unknown is, but it's the mindset, right? If something happens, in my head, I'm ready. If I'm doing the things I'm supposed to be doing day in and day out, I am ready. Practice, practice, practice. A lot of people always, I can't try to drive this home all the time, because people come to me like, oh, I want to do what you do. I'm like, how much are you willing to practice? Well, I'm like, well, I didn't go to like one bobsled camp, and next thing I know, I found myself at the Olympics winning Olympic medals, right? So same thing. So I'm super excited to bring up our next speaker. He and I had only met like today, but I've seen all sorts of stuff. Oh shoot, hold on. Well, it's supposed to be Heath. Has anybody seen Heath? Hold on. Let me. No. Hold on, I'll be right back. Let me go call him really quick, find out where he's at.
Hey, this is Heath. Hey, what's up, Bill? Oh, really, right now? Crap, I'm across town. I'm like 10 minutes away. I'll jump in the heli and get over there.
Okay.
Tell everybody to get ready for the most badass presentation ever.
All right, brother, boom, let's do it. All right, well, seems like Heath is flying his helicopter around Phoenix right now. So we're going to fill some space for one of the other members of the Brand X Expo family. Let's bring up Frank. It's a trap.
So I guess I'll have to fill some air. Hopefully it'll be interesting for you, because I am, as always, entirely unexpected. But what you don't know yet, and that I intrinsically know, is that usually I tend to appear in people's lives right before they have an unsolvable problem, because these are the kinds of problems that I end up solving, whether that's technology, spiritually, or otherwise. And so you all might be fucked. You're welcome. It's a giving world. Exactly. So, I've been thinking, because, we got to bring it back to tech in some way, how to best describe AI. And frankly, I am sick and tired of drinking the AI Kool-Aid, because it is immensely frustrating if anybody has ever dealt with it. Yes? It's like third grader trying to do it, and even that's from the tech people. So I sat there thinking about how that could possibly be explained, and the result of which now is going to be something that you've probably never heard before. Probably a little bit controversial. And know that I am an imperfect messenger. For some of you, I may be the perfect messenger. For some of you, I may be, the lunatic on the stage. Either is okay with me. If you're really interested in terms of my career, it's been interesting. I've been around tech for way too long. If you're really curious, you can Google search my name, Frank Wazeter, and you'll have pages and pages worth of great accolades, great awards. I'm the person that they seek when they need to solve the unsolvable problem, or the project has gotten to the point where it is 400,000, 4 million, whatever, out of budget, and they don't know how to fix it, and I fix it. Because of that, I've worked with New York Stock Exchange CEOs, turned down the offer to be appointed to the White House, depending on the next presidential administration, because even though I solve unsolvable problems, solving the IRS problem is one that is beyond me, okay? And just don't want that. But the things that you don't know is that to get to that point, I have lost and rebuilt from scratch my identity probably 4 times. Probably because I'm stubborn and, don't really learn very well very fast if I'm really dug in my heels with something. I was born maybe wealthier than everybody in this room combined. I don't know. Someone that does do the math of like what $50 million in a publicly traded company would be from 1993 to today, okay? And so I grew up in an environment where you had everything of it, private jets, Disney World, all the yachts, cars, whatever, mansions, downtown streets, and it's funny that was just life, and then it all catastrophically came to an end. And sometimes you get tests to find out who you are. The way that this came to an end in particular was my grandfather had gotten used to power to the point where nobody could ever tell him no. So he ended up molesting my younger sister. And when I was told this, I remember breaking down in class, and then people actually came and wanted to see what happened. This isn't the first time this guy did this. And the very first piece of advice I got was, because this poor guidance counselor in this private school had no idea what the fuck was going to happen, was perhaps you should run away. Thank you. Even me at 8 years old knows that is patently terrible advice. But this all ultimately led to something that you did not do in the 90s, and anybody who has had any amount of wealth at that level is you do not go against family, you do not go against people, especially in that culture that had the resources to crush you. And I will always respect my mom for actually doing so. Took my grandfather to court, and the rest, unfortunately, the manipulations around the evil side of money. I've been very rich, I've been very poor. Trust me, I would say you'd probably want to build money versus not, because the alternative, not so great also. But when everything revolves around that, what happens is you are corrupted body, mind, and soul to the point where it manifests in your body. And the entire side of my family that was involved with that is now dead. And dead early. Because that's what happens when there is a lack of purpose and a misunderstanding. And I remember that I was at one point, I know what the legalese is for you are dead to me. Because my grandmother once, as long as I was willing to admit or say that these bad things never happened, I could be back in the will. I chose not to, because there's some lines in the sand you do not cross. And I was not willing to throw my younger sister under the bus in exchange for money. I hope your ethics and your will is never tested like that. But the result, if you're curious, of the legalese for you are dead to me is I consider so-and-so to have predeceased me. But with that, there is a price for freedom, and with that, I gained my freedom. Because now I was not subject to overwhelming control and a narrow scope of view. And unfortunately, when you have freedom, you also have the ability to make terrible choices. And I remember thinking that I'd gotten to a point where it's like everything was good enough, everything was great, moving forward, all that kind of good stuff. And then I pulled this goddamn stone from Travis Brady 2 years ago. See, he's a masochist, so he likes to give these prayer rocks away. Okay. And I say masochist because I remember pulling this out and it says blessed. Now, what was unbeknownst to me at that point is that I was about to go down a journey of yet another identity crisis, and yet another loss of everything, except this time it was much to my own making, my own hand. I hit with divorce. And at first was, like, I'll show her, all that kind of good stuff. And so when I was looking at this stone throughout the year, blessed. don't know me. I am very clearly not blessed, and I cannot false positive my way into this one. Cannot delude myself that much, and I'm really good at, I have a very vivid imagination, very good at this. Could not do it with this. And so I ignored this stone because I'm going to work harder. But unfortunately, I came to this conclusion is I could not hate my ex-wife because sometimes you're the bad guy. And I realized I was the bad guy in this case. Didn't set out to be. Never thought that I would be in that position, but I was the bad guy. And so I was really looking forward to the next year and getting a new stone. But then Travis forgot to give me a goddamn new stone. And I got stuck with it. Again. Until apparently today when he tried to take it to use for a demonstration for some kind, he says, where's my stone? And then Eric's telling me, oh, Travis, that's my rock. Give me my rock back. So I had to retrieve this rock. Me and this rock got some, we've had our stuff to work out, okay? But in the midst of the intensity of the, I would say the crisis, because eventually when a mask shatters that you've been holding on to, you cannot put that back together again. You can try as much as you humanly can. But like Humpty Dumpty, all the king's men and all the king's soldiers cannot put the egg back together again once it has crashed. And so I was left with these deep questions. I couldn't find purpose in work anymore because I couldn't find myself capable of working the way that I was before because that was precisely the problem that led to me being the bad guy. And I was known for my work. So that was fun. And I came down to this question that was ultimately very controversial into what I believe right now is probably one of the worst misunderstandings on the planet that we have. See, our country has a very bad relationship with what masculinity is. And I remember thinking in these feelings of being utterly powerless, in reconciling everything that had happened for my life because, man, this door had just opened. I mean, I have experienced everything from street fights over being skinny and accused of being gay in the Deep South. So then you had to fight. To the worst of that being, I remember once being jumped 7-3 and the other two guys ran away. And I remember in middle school, being in high school, so I had to learn how to fight really well. I at the very least learned that you didn't have to win the fight, but as long as you were able to, make it such a pain in the ass that the other person was no longer worth that time, they wouldn't fuck with you again. Because at the end of the day, someone who is looking to take advantage of someone else is only going to take advantage of them if it's a guaranteed win. And if you can take away the guaranteed win, they're going to pass on to the next person. So, ultimately, I have even experienced rape. So I've had these situations where it's like, okay, mind, body, and soul, like everything has been like blessed. Blessed. Can you stop the practical joke already? Not laughing. And it got to this point where the first time in my life, I used to be fueled off of anger. I could at least channel anger into something productive and something that would lead to a result. I could channel it into work. I could channel it into, I'm going to prove you wrong. I could channel it into innovation. I could channel it into being accepted. And I could not channel this. I couldn't get angry. And I couldn't even get angry that I lost the anger because I was just sad that I lost the anger. I was like, come on, get angry at something. So I asked myself what this question of masculinity is. What is this? Because every guy here knows the only thing you are ever taught is be a man. Well, what is a man? I don't know, be a man. Followed closely by, well, don't be a woman. Thank you, very helpful. like, quarter. So as a result, you ask, what does it mean to be masculine? And most people, in the answers that I was seeking, came down to everybody just said, say, provide, protect, maybe some leadership, and like 8 other descriptors. That was a thoroughly unsatisfying answer. And it was a thoroughly unsatisfying answer because providing and protecting, even leadership, is a job. It's not masculinity. And this is where, some people might find it controversial. Because it's a job. And a job is something that's finite. It's going to be something that can be taken away. It's something that you can be broken over or held hostage over you. It is the thing that will make you feel weak and powerless. Because when your definition of a significant portion of self is a job, and you cannot do the job for whatever reason, even temporarily, you realize that you are replaceable. That you aren't important. And we're having this epiphany and realizing that so many other of my friends were having the same kind of, they didn't feel like a man enough, but they couldn't say why. Just like I couldn't say why. And I had this epiphany. Masculinity is not provide and protect. It is certainty. Do you hold certainty? Are you certain enough of self that you can mentally, spiritually, emotionally support the ones that you love around you? Are you certain in your path, even when someone's saying you should really ask for directions? But you're like, no. I'm certain this is the way. That's the biggest clue is how I know that I was onto the right thing. I'm like, yeah, definitely, that. Universal shared trait. When you are certain of self, you are certain that good times will come again. When there's chaos around you and you can be that column, that is strength. That is what we aim to be. Because that is how we see our role. And then, this came to this funny conclusion was that, well, with masculinity, there's also femininity. And that, too, in a way, has kind of gotten out of control, except at least it's more clear. But everybody has both energies. And so I said, if masculinity is certainty, what the hell would femininity be? And femininity, came down to a whole lot of shit, okay? Don't ask Reddit. Don't ask Reddit. It's not. I've received a lot of hate mail. Oh God. So I said, but how can I make it that as simple as certainty? He said, well, if femininity is the antithesis, then it would be acceptance, unconditional acceptance, like a mother's love. And so if you have to be masculine or feminine, what happens is this weird thing is that your power is taken away. You're fragile because to be certain of self, you must be completely accepting of self. Or if you receive acceptance from somebody else, such as wife, friend, so on and so forth, and that goes away, and you lose that acceptance, why do you think so many men crumble after a relationship? They've lost their source of unconditional acceptance. At least that's what happened to me. And I couldn't even recognize it until I got to this point where I could finally accept myself. And when you can accept yourself, you can become more certain of self. And when you are more certain of self, your capacity to accept becomes higher. And when your capacity to accept becomes higher, now you can actually be certain enough to serve, support, and help others without being the victim yourself. And suddenly, to me, from this epiphany, that all made sense now. Because the reason why you struggle or feel powerless, you are not. You are not powerless. Nobody can take away your masculinity from you. You cannot be demasculized. It's not possible. Because the source of any strife that you have is that you are an infinite being, an infinite soul, trying to understand and reconcile existence as a finite body. And come to your conclusions based on that and how you go forward. And so, if certainty and acceptance is 100% infinite, when you draw your power from that, not what something else is happening, what someone else is doing, or I have to have these things that can be taken away from you, trust me, I know, then you enter this beautiful state. And I remember to really test this, I'm going to do the most scary, terrifying thing that I could possibly think of. I'm going to rock a dress. I did pull it off great. But this fucking terrified me, okay? Because it's like, this brings up all the shit. Like, if you ever want a very quick existential crisis, see how certain you are of who you are, try doing something like that, because you will be surprised how much a piece of clothing will, like, make you question a lot of things and, like, suddenly become very uncertain. But I remember after actually building up the nerve to do that and actually like, okay, cool, like, wow, suddenly the world didn't end. This is great. I can move on. I looked at myself in the mirror later on and actually realized that I had been avoiding looking at myself in the mirror for 30 years. I couldn't stand the way that I looked. But now I'd passed this magic threshold somehow in challenging what I was deeply afraid of and had managed to overcome the other end. And as a result, I cried for the first time in my life for like a day and a half. Like, just fuck, I couldn't keep it together. It's amazing. And all of a sudden, all of these blank spots in my memory came back to me. Suddenly, for the first time, I realized I could dream again when I slept. I didn't realize I'd just black for many years, for decades. I had realized that, I could now see. And I could remember the very first time that somebody stepped up. It's the man that I respect the most. And maybe this is where this whole idea came from. I remember I was 17, and my mom was getting remarried at the end of a very tumultuous time period. And I remember telling him, it's not too late. You can back out. You're going from 0 to 3 kids all of a sudden. You've got this kind of good thing going for you. You'll be fine. And my stepdad, Steve, he just said 3 words that I can't even say properly without crying because they're so perfect. He says, it's okay. I got this. That was the first time a male figure had actually stepped up. It was the first time that I didn't have to try to be an adult as, a teenager. He had nothing to gain from it. And it was a perfectly beautiful moment. And from remembering that, just that one time, I could now remember and see magic. All of the beautiful moments. The fact how beautiful and wonderful all of life is. And it's great. And as if I could see in a side of the divinity, like it was a big cosmic joke, and now I'm in on the joke, and it's funny and hilarious. And that I looked around and said, how wonderful is all this? Like, I've had great friends that I can trust and rely on without a doubt. I can't tell you how many times Travis has been there with me, for me. The Next Gen team. Too many people to count, like otherwise we'll be here for the rest of the night fucking, but it's just like that I can absolute certainty about absolute acceptance with. This is this wonderful community that I hope that you have that, and you can see that and recognize that, and I get to be there and witness new beginnings. I get to witness one of my best friends, my brother, vision come to life. After 8 years, I see a new door, a new beginning. I get to see y'all's faces as that epiphany happens and new possibilities become real. I get to be there and support other people the way that I want. And I said, yes, I'm blessed. And so, like the legend of the sword and the stone, Merlin, all that, it was the the sword could not be removed. This is the heaviest object on the planet. For almost all of you, unless you really surprise me, no one will be able to move this stone, except for the one or maybe a couple people that this one is meant for and it's supposed to help next. And so, it's there for the person who needs it and is not afraid of it. And there's no rules to grab it at any time. And with that, hopefully Heath's here because I filled a lot of time.
Let's give it up for Frank.